So this webinar is the Gateway of Awakening. And this time we are in, this is very, very precious time when light workers come together, bring our attention in one place with the intention of healing, awakening, learning, loving, presence. That's exactly what we're doing here today. So whatever way you know to meditate and be present, this is. So here's a little bit about me. For those of you who don't know my background, my name is Reverend Darren Starwin, also a doctor of Oriental Medicine and other titles, director of Lightworker Ministry and the Bridge to Mastery Consciousness Institute. I'm not actually going to read this whole page. If you look at the screen, you can see all the credentials that I have. But mainly, I have led hundreds of workshops, retreats, and all kinds of events all over the world for 25, 30 years. And they've all been really have to do with things to do with healing, consciousness. And it just keeps evolving, opening up more and more and more. So like what I'm going to share with you today and what you can share with me, this is new. This is a new level for us this day. That's because we are in a time of ascension. We are in a time of ascension of consciousness. And you may wonder, if the world looking as crazy and as it is, how could you say it's ascension of consciousness? Well, we're going to be talking about that today. There's some definite pattern going on here. So I've written 4 books, and I started writing books around the year 2000, and that was my first book, Microcurrent Electroacupuncture. My most recent one won the Global Book Award for this year, 2022. That's the top award in my genre, and also an Amazon #1 bestseller. It's called Awakening the Avatar Within. So if you like what you hear here, if this intrigues you, if this touches you in various ways, I highly recommend that you get a hold of the paperback or the audio book, and you'll get a lot more background in what we're talking about today. So this is called the Gateway of Awakening. And so what is this Gateway of Awakening? It's truly something that the whole human race is involved with right now. It's something that leads us into a different way of living. And Lord knows we need a different way of living on this planet right now. And yet it's coming. This is just the chaos that's happening as we are moving into a higher order of life. And so I'm going to really try my best to share an experience with you of this Gateway of Awakening, not make it another theory or another spiritual belief system, but something that you actually experience during this time. So this webinar is going to go 75 minutes total. That's 1 hour and 15 minutes. And I really recommend that you stay till the end, because at the end, first of all, I'm going to offer a gift, which is a self-assessment tool you can use to determine what your own superpowers are, which is one of the things we're going to be talking about today, is what's superpowers? How do you develop it? And so that tool will help you with it. And the other thing is we're going to finish with a quantum activation for helping to bring healing blessings to our planet. And that's how we're going to finish this webinar today, because that's what's most in my heart every day, every hour. And so if you possibly can, please stay till the end of this. So I know that I'm sure almost everybody who's been attracted to come onto this event has a lot of information about spirituality. You've heard a lot about metaphysical things, or about yoga, or about enlightenment, or study different kinds of teachings to do with healing and holistic healing. But there's a difference between metaphysical beliefs or religion and personal experience, personal direct knowing, and what I would call higher sense perception. That's what I really want to touch you with in this, is your own experience, because all those beliefs take you up to a certain place. And there's new tantalizing beliefs that you can find in new books coming out every day, and new workshops and new philosophies and so on. But really the thing that's going to bring us into the ascension of consciousness is when you experience it inside of your own body. And that's what this is really about. This is truly the essence of taking back your power and getting truly happy. That's what I tell you, like true happiness is when you know what your path is and you are living it, regardless of what's going on around you. And I know for myself, I have gotten so much happier during the last few years. So I want you to know that by participating fully in what we're going to be doing in some of these exercises, some of the guided meditations, you'll be able to directly experience what I call quantum activations, which are infusions of higher light energy that catalyze healing and awakening. Now, I've been working with people who are holistic healers, acupuncturists, energy healers. And I generally sum up anybody who's really trying to bring more light and make people happier and healthier as light workers. So that's kind of an umbrella category. So light workers are some of the best people I know. I mean, people that are really have sincere hearts, that really want to help others, that will go beyond the call of duty, that make love a high priority in their life, usually want to educate themselves and learn more of ways that they can do better and better at whatever it is that you're doing in your life. I also know, after working with so many thousands of people, that light workers tend to have a lot of issues with self-doubt, with lack of confidence, sometimes struggling with financial issues, often going through a lot of mood swings and ups and downs, sometimes feeling powerless. And there's a reason for this, and there's also a way to step out of that. One of the reasons I believe light workers have been through so much is because we have a soul memory of having experienced very high states of consciousness, or a great deal of power and influence at times, or having developed ourselves in various ways, and there's been consequences to it. And many times in the history of our planet, people who were holding a lot of light were often slammed in different ways. So that has brought about a lot of these conditions that so many people experience now. But the time we're in now is the time where people who are the light workers are the ones who are going to change this planet. You're not going to be able to rely on the politicians to do it, the scientists, the clergy, even a lot of well-meaning humanitarians are doing great work, but it's the people that are able to hold this light and emanate it, bring through their spiritual transmission, and actually put it into action who are really going to change the planet. And I believe that that's you. So we'll learn more about what that really means here. So what I'd like to suggest is, as we go through this webinar, that you use the chat as much as possible. Anytime you have a thought, you have a comment, you have a question, something that you want to share, that will make this a lot more enjoyable. So what are we really going to be covering today? These are the things that I put in the announcement for this webinar, is that you're going to discover what the gateway of awakening is, how you can identify it and tap into it. What's the importance of light workers at this time, and how you can activate your higher healing abilities and higher sense perception. Why you are really an avatar, what that really means, and what it takes to actually manifest that part of you, make that your modus operandi. And what can and will actually save this planet? I'm sure that's on a lot of people's minds right now, seeing what's going on in the United States and all over the world, and the seemingly now new endless war. I mean, I just saw the statistic. There's more people involved in war-torn areas now at any time since World War II, back in the 1940s. Why is that when there's such a high state of consciousness so many people are moving into? We have such advanced technologies. And it seems like so many advances were made in human rights over my lifetime. Why is there such a powerful force to try to undo all those human rights now? These are important questions, and I'm going to address them here while we're here together. What's the experience of quantum healing and quantum activations? Well, as they say on the airplanes, fasten your seatbelt, put your tray table in the upright and locked position, get ready for takeoff. And also, I'm going to talk about Lightworker Ministry, which is a new website an online association that I think will really serve some of your needs. It's some things that are very valuable that haven't been addressed, which is mainly the need for spiritual community of people working on a high level to be able to connect with each other and to actually be able to build your abilities as a quantum healer and with higher sense perception. So I'll talk about that toward the end. So let's go through some terminology now. Now, basically, words are very powerful. Words are vibrations. And so I want to explain some of the terminology that goes along with this. So first of all, the quantum field. What is the quantum field? Well, the quantum field is spoken about by scientists as a field of unlimited potentiality from which everything comes, and everything starts in basically as wave patterns of energy and turns into particles that create discrete things like everything in the universe. That would be the quantum field. So is it just some abstract scientific idea? No. It's something you can tap into. And so before I go on to the next slide, how about if we tap into the quantum field right now? So one way to do that is to put the tip of your tongue on the roof of your mouth, slightly behind your two front upper teeth. Breathe deeply. Just relax. Now, there is a famous statement made, when two or more are gathered in my name, there I am among you. It's spoken by Jesus. Now, that's a very metaphysical statement. It's not what it sounds like on the surface. People physically getting together, then you're with this guy who lived 2,000 years ago. No, that's not what it's talking about. It's when two or more light workers gather together with the intention of opening your heart, being fully present, and increasing your sensitivity to energy. You simply intend that. I now intend to increase my sensitivity to energy. Now I'm just going to ask you to go within your own body and simply sense what you're noticing inside your body. By putting the tip of your tongue on the roof of your mouth, it connects the great meridians on the front and back of your body and puts you into body consciousness, connects you with your entire chakra system. So if you're noticing anything that you can feel inside yourself, please go to the chat and describe what you notice. Again, the more you share, the more people share, the more we're going to really build this quantum field in this event today. I could say Christine said, tingling in all my cells. That's what I sense too, Christine. It's like a sensation of presence in my body. And I notice my senses are slightly different than they were before. Like the room I'm in looks a little bit different. The sound of my own voice sounds a little bit different. I can actually hear sounds in my ears, these subtle sounds. Mariana said warmth and expansion. Kevin said open-hearted. Blessings. Om. Ron said heart expansion. Yes, see, this is so accessible. This is what is real. And again, when two or more gather together with the intention to build the quantum field, to acknowledge the quantum field, your nervous system is totally capable of tuning into it. So what's the significance of this, aside from kind of nice jolly feelings in our body right now, is that when you tap into the quantum field, you can bless others by seeing them surrounded in the quantum field, seeing people as already whole, like even people who have severe diseases or pain or going through tremendous emotional upheaval. You just see them as already whole, surrounded in this quantum field. Just extend your love, and they receive an immediate blessing, even if they're halfway around the world. That's one of the bases of quantum healing. Now, Christine said, energy emanating out of my fingertips. Yeah, I feel that too. Thank you for sharing. This is great. This make this a lot more enjoyable. So the quantum field is something that I explain to my clients about it. I say, we are working together in this field of unlimited possibilities in which miracles are normal. What we call miracles are simply things that are according to universal law that we haven't been able to explain with our left brain yet, but they are all according to universal law. So we're tapping into a higher universal law now. That is, the level of consciousness that you claim is the one that's going to inform everything in your life, your relationships, your finances, your state of health. I mean, I went through a situation just a couple of months ago where I experienced a transference with one of my clients, which is very rare. In other words, I took on something from them. I thought I had stopped doing that a long time ago, but I was very tired. I was in a vulnerable place. And I came home and I had double vision. I had never had that in my life before. Everything looked double. I had a splitting headache, back pain, fatigue, all these. And it took me about 2 months to work through all that. And yet the way I did is by simply working with the quantum field, just seeing myself as already whole. Yesterday I went to an eye doctor and said my eyes are perfectly healthy and my back feels great. Everything feels great. So there's a template of you in your perfected state that exists on the higher dimensions. And anytime you're going through depression or going through pain, going through disease, there's actually a way to, in a sense, download that perfected template and reboot your computer of your body according to that. Again, quantum healing is quite miraculous. So the next thing I want to talk about is the dimensions. Third dimension, fourth dimension, fifth dimension. Well, I really love the fifth dimension, Bill, I love you so, I always will. Well, that was a band. That's not the fifth dimension I'm talking about. But this fifth dimension would be state of pure love. It's a state of consciousness where there is no polarization. Ain't that something good, considering looking at what's going on in the United States now? It's a place where there is no opposites and positives and negatives. There's just pure beingness and pure love. And guess what? It's right here. It's not some far off, idealistic thing. I think most people feel the fifth dimension. They may not call it that, but it's when you're feeling good, when you're feeling in love, when you're feeling a sense of harmony, you're in the fifth dimension. Now, the fourth dimension is in between third dimension, which is matter, the material world, based on the logical left brain. And the fourth dimension is a higher consciousness realm where it is more magical and there is more things like angels and different nature spirits and astral traveling and a lot of subtle energy phenomena that we work with. But the fourth dimension still has polarization. It still has a light side and a dark side. And right now, the human race is going through this intense transit through the fourth dimension. And that's one reason why things are so insanely polarized in our societies. The right wing, the left wing, pro-life, anti-life, whatever it is. I mean, everything is blowing up in our face with this polarization. So what's the solution? To transit through this as the earth is ascending into the higher dimensions, focus on the fifth dimension, 5D. It's pretty simple. Inspire others to do so. Okay, so this is a picture of the earth. I'd call it the new earth. What is the new earth? The new earth is the ascended earth in which it's primarily ruled by the consciousness of the fifth dimension and the higher fourth dimension. And the third dimension is still here. It has a physical earth. And here's a little news for you. The new earth is already here. It's not some pie in the sky thing in the future. We just have to have eyes to see it. We have to release our attachment to seeing in an old way, a fear-based way, a tribal kind of way, in order to see the new earth. I feel like I'm already living in it. I mean, when I go outside and I look around, I'm seeing it looks different to me than it did a few years ago. More light, more beauty, more depth. But right now, we are going through this huge purging, which I'll talk about. So just see and know that you're already in this new earth. Okay, what is an avatar? Well, avatar comes from the Sanskrit word. Let's see, Christine put a quote, call those things that are not as though they already are. Beautiful. That quote seems very, very fitting. Yeah. I mean, Jesus came up with some of the greatest quotes, some of the most brilliant ways of expressing subtle spiritual phenomena in ways that anybody can understand. So an avatar comes from the term avatar, which is a Sanskrit word that means descent. So when the divine power of the universe, the infinite love, infinite power of the universe, and if you like the word God, you can use that, source, whatever word you want to use, takes a human body in which can cause change in the world, kind of rock the world into a better place. That's an avatar. So this picture shows avatars recognized by different traditions in the world, and Jesus, Buddha, Kuan Yin, Krishna. But we're at a time now where avatars are not just a special person who comes who's a big leader, everybody puts them up on a pedestal and worships them. I mean, that's kind of the past age. We're in a time now where all of us have the quality of being an avatar. And if you really open your heart and you really have the desire to be of service to others and to help make the world a better place, and also to kind of be all that you can be, that's not just the Air Force or the Army, that's also self-realization, like knowing your own true self and upgrading your body so that your body, your DNA and your body, your cells can vibrate at this higher light level. You can live as an avatar, and not only can, but it's needed. So again, the most recent book I wrote is Awakening the Avatar Within. And it basically is a roadmap to how you can awaken yourself as an avatar, including upgrading your body and clearing a lot of heavy old baggage that you've been carrying for a long, long time. Okay, transmission. What does the word transmission mean? Well, I did take my car down to a shop yesterday, a place that works on transmissions, but that's not the kind of transmission I'm talking about. The transmission I'm talking about is also, I'm not talking about the transmission of disease either. This transmission I'm talking about is divine source energy. It comes from the highest source, the highest point of light that expresses and individuates as you, as me, as each person. See, every human being comes from a divine source emanation. And so this image, I hired an artist to make this. There's basically a center column of light that moves through the earth, an axis of light. There's an axis that moves through the whole universe. And then there's one that moves through the human body that you can actually follow in meditation. And it's a beautiful kind of meditation called central axis breathing. But basically, when you bring virtue through in your life, when you bring your healing abilities, when you share your love, when you share your talents, you are bringing your transmission through. So that's already happening. But as you awaken more, as you awaken your consciousness more, you become more conscious of the transmission itself, that kind of tingling feeling a lot of us talked about, and we can feel in our bodies. That's the quantum field. It also has to do with your transmission. So the more you elevate your consciousness, which is very easy to do nowadays because the whole earth is moving in that direction, then the more you'll become aware of this transmission. And that's what enables you to be a miracle quantum healer. Now, I'm using the word miracle. I know that that's a controversial word. People say, oh, come on, don't exaggerate and use words like miracle. I want you to say something more grounded. The reason I use the word miracle is because I'm working with lots of individual clients and group work these days, different classes I'm running, and we are literally experiencing miracles. I can't think of a better word for it. I mean, people having shifts that are completely unexpected, of often either physical or emotional issues they've been dealing with a long, long time, chronic pain, chronic disease, fatigue, long-term emotional disturbances. People kind of, in a sense, are waking up to a way that, wow, that was kind of a dream I was in, and I can take more charge of myself. So, yes, the more you get in touch with your transmission, and more consciously, the more that you can act in that way. You don't have to necessarily be a healer. You could be a certified public accountant or a dog groomer, whatever it is you're doing, or a mother home with kids. You're going to bring more of that miracle energy to it when you are aware of this. We're going to do, later in this webinar, we're going to actually go through some quantum activations to make this much more experiential. Right now, I'm kind of sowing the seeds with some of these terminologies. Okay, the word dharma, very important. This is a word also from Sanskrit and Pali, which is another language from Asia. And this basically, it's not an exact translation into the English language, but basically it's the principle or law that orders the universe. In other words, it's universal law, universal order. And it's also when a human being acts according to universal law. That means you're living in a way of virtue, because virtue is the goodness, it's the blessing that you emanate, that makes up who you are. And an interesting thing I've learned is that when you build your virtue, your sense of virtue in your life, that can translate into money, because money is the material equivalent of virtue. Like virtue is, in a sense, wealth on the spiritual level, and money is wealth on the material level, and they can transfer back and forth. Nice thing to know, and I've seen that work out that way. And then also it says, number 7, one of the basic minute elements from which all things are made, dharma. So I'm going to come back to this term in a moment. Okay, now here's the stuff we've been struggling with for a long time, conditioning. In the movie The Matrix, there's this one famous scene where Neo, played by Keanu Reeves, goes in to meet Morpheus, and Morpheus takes out 2 pills, a red pill and a blue pill, and just says, I'm going to offer you this choice to take one of these pills. If you take the blue pill, you'll just continue to believe whatever you believe about your life, and you'll be part of the group programming of the world. But if you take the red pill, you'll awaken and see what's really going on and how deep that rabbit hole goes. And then Neo says, well, what truth are you talking about? And then Morpheus says, the truth is that you're a slave. You've been living as a slave and not even realizing it. And that's actually the situation of the human race. We're enslaved by group beliefs that are very negative and polarized and disempowering. And we're controlled and manipulated much more than we realize. And that part of the mind that can be manipulated, there's many people have called it the slave self, which I think is a good way to put it. In another way, Don Miguel Ruiz called it domestication in his book, The 4 Agreements. It's something that almost all children go through. You're domesticated to hide some of your light, to kind of toe the line, to do things to please mommy and daddy, to get approval, to put your attention outward from your beautiful inner spiritual self to like TV sets and radios and cell phones and social media. In other words, we're domesticated based on fear. And so another term from Sanskrit for that is samskara. That means these impressions that build up like deep grooves in your mind of repetitive ways of fearfully regarding life and being controlled and going through many kinds of suffering. I came up with the term residudu to describe samskara and conditioning and domestication. So you may wonder, how do I know so much about this stuff? Well, I know so much about this because I've gone through hell in my life in many, many ways, especially in my younger life. When I was young, I had a family who were nice parents who treated me well. They had their own neuroses and hang-ups, but basically I was not abused in any external way that I'm aware of. Yet I grew up feeling like weighted, like this. I was carrying this heavy weight inside myself on a kind of emotional, spiritual level. And I didn't really know why. I couldn't really understand it. And it took a lot of inner spiritual work and a lot of healings and a lot of like, working on myself to gradually lighten that up. And with the help of a lot of amazing teachers and beings that have worked with me. And eventually I realized that I was carrying the weight from a lot of my ancestors. I'm the Jewish background, and I had countless number of relatives incinerated in Hitler's gas chambers, and um, and even beyond that, even beyond just that. But I know that I felt like I was very empathic, and I was carrying so much of all this pain of the world and of myself and my past lifetimes and all that. So I'm saying these words because I know what they mean very well. And yet now I am experiencing such a lightness in my life compared to that and such a joy. And it's mainly because I've been able to use the quantum energy to literally like lighten and transform a lot of that residue and build my light body. And this is something that's open to all of us to do. And the thing I think that also gives me a lot more joy in my life is I actually am giving back. I'm doing my purpose. I'm helping increasing numbers of people to awaken to their light body, to their true self, their avatar self. So whatever it is that your purpose is, this is certainly the time to be doing it. This is a picture of Brer Rabbit and the tar baby. I like this image of this an old story from the American South where Brer Rabbit's walking down the road and he sees this thing that looks like a being, and he comes up and says, "Good day, sir." And the tar baby doesn't say anything because they're just made out of tar. And then Brer Rabbit said, "I said, good day, sir." And then because the tar baby didn't answer, Brer Rabbit got angry and said, "You're being discourteous to me," and started punching this thing. And the more he punched it, the more the tar got all over him and he got all stuck together and he couldn't get away from it. So that's a lot what samskara is like and residue do. Like the more you try to free yourself from it, you go to therapy sessions and you go to healing workshops and yoga classes and holistic healing, and it all helps to a certain extent. But in a sense, the more you try to free yourself, the more you get stuck in it, just like the tar baby. It takes a quantum level to really free yourself fully from that old stuff. Okay, higher sense perception. Higher sense perception is really the senses within you that sense beyond your material level of sensing. And by the way, anybody that has any personal experiences or impressions of these things I'm talking about, I appreciate if you put something in the chat about that. And that'll make this much more interesting. So higher sense perception is one of the things that opens up as you move into your avatar consciousness, as you elevate your consciousness. Like I know for myself, when I was young, I felt like I had absolutely zero psychic ability or intuitive ability, and I was completely locked in my left brain and my body, and that's all I knew. And my father felt he was that way too, and yet, now it's so different. I mean, so much just direct knowing and seeing and all these things coming. And so I figure if I can do it, anybody can, because I felt like I was the most closed kind of person back when I was younger in that way. Christing, here's another interesting term. What does that mean? Well, Christing is a process that every human being can go through of basically increasing the light in your body, increasing your light body. Jesus was a great advanced person who came to say, what I have done, all people can do. He was basically showing what it's like for a human being to go through the process of Christing. He didn't have a monopoly on it. He came to show what is possible. And so at this time, it's much more accessible for any of us to go through this. And so we just had a question from Vincenza. How does healing in the quantum level occur? How do you get there? Well, thank you for asking that. We're going to actually do a quantum healing very soon here together where you can experience it. But the best way to explain it in words would be that when somebody who is already aware of the quantum field and who is vibrating on that level can act as a catalyst for someone else to activate that in themselves. So I consider myself to be a quantum catalyst even more than a healer, because the word healer has a lot of different connotations. And Cynthia says she also uses the LIFE system for quantum healing with amazing results. And Jane was saying something about, the Brer Rabbit and Tar Baby illustration. Yeah, just try to fight the opposition. Right. So anyway, when I'm working on clients, sometimes I literally see them go through the process of some degree of Christing right on my treatment table. Like they come in with their face looking sort of darkened or troubled and drained or whatever it is. And then, after we go through some of these processes, like their eyes are just open up and I can just see the light coming out of their eyes. It's the light coming out of their face. And they always say, I feel lighter. That's the thing all these people always use as a description. Okay, superpowers. What are superpowers? Well, superpowers are something given to you so you can be in service to others. I'll say it one time. Superpowers are what are given to you, what's awakens in you as you offer your blessings and your gifts to others. So the more you understand what your mission is, what your purpose is, and you get with it and commit to doing that, superpowers start coming to you. It also has to do with, I mentioned just transmission, this energy transmission that comes from the highest source and manifests through you. As you become more directly aware of your energy frequency transmission and you express it and share it, it manifests as increased abilities in different areas of life. So to give you an example of a superpower, in my book, Awakening the Avatar Within, there's a whole chapter on how you identify your superpowers. And I mentioned there's also a little software program I'll give you at the end of this that'll also help you with that. So here's a quote from that book. It says, if you want to discover and claim your superpowers, put yourself into situations where it's needed and you're the one there to deliver it. Really care about the person or people in front of you. That's the surest way to express and develop your superpowers. That's what I've found. Now, what's a quantum activation? Well, we're going to actually, in a few minutes, go through a quantum activation here. Again, it's when somebody who's holding the frequency of the quantum field or some group of people who are holding it, amplify it together through bringing through their transmission and acting as a catalyst for each other. Olya just said, I can relate to what you said. Yeah, she's been through some of those experiences, now feels a lot lighter. And thank you, Christine. You're talking about if we believe we're sick, we have sickness. That's right. If we believe we're whole, we're whole. Miracles are drawn to us when we communicate an energy that welcomes them. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. That's gorgeous. So again, in my book, Chapter 4 has the chapter Recognizing Your Superpowers, and Chapter 17 is Identifying Your Lightworker Service Group. Because as you become to realize that you're a light worker, you'll tend to gravitate to certain other people who have a similar mission. And this is how we're going to change the world. I'm going to talk more about that as we go along here. So I mentioned that the new earth is here and that we're moving into this higher ascended earth. But what's it going to take for everyday life to change? All the crises, all the cruelty, all the polarization, all the greed and the disinformation that's flying all over the place. And the fact that there's still so many people who are displaced on this planet and so many children who are growing up with tremendous trauma all around them. What's going to take to change that? Because just the fact that the higher levels are like that, like in a beautiful place, is not enough. Well, I want to talk about how we're going to change this planet, because this is my passion. My greatest passion is supporting this. There are people who are holding this virtue, holding a state of virtue, bringing through their transmission, being of service, developing your consciousness, developing your higher sense perception, increasing the love that you have in your life. are people that can anchor that on physical level. So this book you're seeing on the slide, Power versus Force, gives a really great key about this too. It was written by Dr. David Hawkins. And he basically came up with a system for grading consciousness on different levels, like levels from 0 to 1,000 levels of consciousness. And so he said, most relatively unawakened people in the world are, somewhere like 0 to a couple of hundred. And, still based on a lot of fear, still in the slave self, still not really, very awakened or emancipated. And then people of higher consciousness that are more developed, that are more intelligent, that develop their abilities more, give back more, they're getting higher, levels. And that somebody who's like, on Christ consciousness, is up in the 700, 800, 900, 1,000. And so basically, what he said, which is one of the most powerful, amazing things in this book, and I totally resonate with this, is even one person who's vibrating in that higher level, like the 600, 700 level, 800 level, the higher Christ consciousness, I am presence, can actually neutralize the negativity of thousands to millions of other people. So just think about that for a moment. Let's say there's, several million people who are in a state of great fear and suffering or polarization. One person holding that Christ consciousness can lighten it up for all those people. And we've seen this over and over throughout history with these great avatars like Jesus and Buddha and Kuan Yin. Like one person, just that one person's influence has uplifted so many millions and millions of people. So, we see this happening. What Martin Luther King did, what Gandhi did, what so many, we see these examples. So, this is the time where it's not just for these superstar people, but all of us entering into this. We literally can uplift the frequency of this planet and change it in our lifetime. There's a term tipping point, and there's a Malcolm Gladwell wrote a book called The Tipping Point. And I don't know if any of you have read that, please put a note in the chat if you understand what I'm talking about. He was showing how seemingly small, insignificant things, when it happens in the right place in the right time, can trigger a mass movement that affects millions and millions of people in society. One of the examples he gave was the hush puppy shoes. They were some kind of weird looking shoes from the 1950s with like black and white parts on it. And they became completely out of fashion back in the 1960s, and nobody was making them, and they were considered like a bygone thing. And then one guy who was filming some kind of commercial or something in New York City decided to wear an old pair of hush puppies he got in a thrift store. And because this guy was really hip and people liked to follow him, suddenly all these people all over the country saw this little video and they wanted to get hush puppies. And within 2 years, millions of kids were wearing hush puppies, and this company that used to make them had to reopen their factory and start making them again, and they were in every mall all over the place. That's an example of a tipping point. And so there's many, many things like that. So we're at a tipping point now. We have the ability to generate a tipping point on our planet where the seeming horrors of what's going on shift amazingly quickly into a more positive direction, where we just start working these things out and using science to solve our problems instead of to polarize. And leaders are actually people of virtue who are actually trying to solve things, not just grandstanders who are trying to grab as much power, and defame other people. This is what my vision is, that we have the ability to create this tipping point. And what David Hawkins' book was just one step in that direction. And Lorna was saying, when the Dalai Lama spoke to huge crowds in Central Park, you could feel and sense the peace. But she can't shake the suffering of our Jewish ancestor who died in the camps. Yeah, well, Lorna, I'll tell you something. I actually feel like in my youth, one reason I felt so heavied out is that I felt like I was processing the Holocaust. I actually felt like I was feeling the horror of what my ancestors who died there went through, because I'm so empathic. And it took me a while to realize that and to make some shifts. So I want to tell you what my mission is. My mission is to awaken and empower light workers, to bring people together so that we can create that tipping point. And that's why I created this new online organization called Lightworker Ministry that I'll talk about in a little while. And I've identified what my superpowers are. And one of my superpowers is to be a quantum catalyst so that my presence, I'm allowing this to happen, that my presence tends to uplift and inspire people and to help them to awaken. I've noticed that. So that's why I'm doing more events to share that. And it's not so that you can say, "Oh, Darren, wow, that's so great." It's so you can do it for yourself, so you can awaken your superpowers, and then you can help other people to come into that tipping point. So here you can see one of the groups that I've led. I've led a lot of workshops and retreats, and a lot of them lately since COVID have been on Zoom, but most of them used to be in person, and we're having another in-person one next year. Mariana is saying being an empath in these times is also an advanced spiritual state that requires specific traits and challenges. We literally float in an infinite field of healing energy by divine design. Consciously lowering our resistance to that energy allows the energy to simply flow through us so we are able to resonate and calibrate at a higher level, 5D and beyond. So I put up here a testimonial from a woman who's an acupuncturist who came to one of my, actually it was one of my programs, it was a year-long program. And Kaisa, she said, "I feel completely different in a really good way. Just a whole other level working with my patients. And as I'm tapping more into the source of healing, I have a lot of energy running through me. This energy feels really, really good. I'm sensing more of what my patients are experiencing on an energy level. But overall, for myself, I just kind of took off and went to another level with my work. And it's really amazing. I just feel another level of intuition working with my patients. It's a lot clearer. And it's clear, and their treatments are even more effective and faster as well. It's been great." I mean, I hear this all the time from people who are learning this quantum healing. So what I want to do now, before we go on to the next thing, is actually go through a quantum activation with you. So what I'm going to do is put on some music. I'm going to stop sharing the PowerPoint for a little bit here, and just bear with me while I put on some music that'll help this. Now I call all of your energy back into your body. All you have to do is say, "I now call all of my energy back into my body." Conviction. Feel inside your body. Just really, really relax. Really, really trust. Breathe deeply. Just caress your inner body with breath. Place the tip of your tongue on the roof of your mouth, slightly behind your two front upper teeth, lightly touching. It's the master hookup. While filling your whole abdomen and chest with air in and out, very gently, very deeply. Let your shoulders drop down, let your face relax. Remember that image I showed you earlier? A beam of light coming down from this infinite source and going right through the center of your body where all the chakras are, and then going down into the earth. Just imagine that. You are in your transmission of light. And allow some of this energy you've called back in your body to ground down into Mother Earth, connecting with the Earth Star chakra, which is 2 feet under the surface of the earth. And a lot of this has to do with desire. Really tap into your desire for freedom from the heaviness, from fear, from the residue and the slave self and all that stuff. Just feel how much you want to be free of that. Be determined. I am choosing my freedom. I am stepping out of that domestication and conditioning now. Whatever you say after the words I am has tremendous power behind it. I invite you to say whatever decrees are coming to you. I am the light. I am free. I am an avatar right now. I am awakening. I am full of love. I'm vibrating at the level of Christ consciousness. As you say it, so it is. So this is a quantum activation, what you're experiencing right now. Music like this helps to bring the mind into it. Really keep your attention inside your body. Keeping your tongue in that position, the roof of your mouth, really strengthens the sense of embodiment. And this is not just out in your field somewhere, but it's right here in your body. I am already, always, in all ways that I am. That's great. If you have a decree, go ahead and type it into the chat. That's a good service. Also, I'd love it if you would just say what you're experiencing. Share in the chat what you're actually feeling right now, what you're noticing during this activation. One reason I keep asking you to go to the chat to do this is that when you share your experience, you're creating virtue for yourself because you're giving of your experience, you're sharing your experience. You're overcoming fear and slave self-programming, which says, oh no, you have to keep quiet, you have to, don't rock the boat, don't say things that, might make people judge you, or just forget all that. Speak from your heart. Use common sense, but generally, whenever possible, share. Lauren said, energy vibrating in my hands, seeing purple. Lorna said, it's challenging for me to focus deeply. Well, it's really good to acknowledge that, Lorna. Be with the fear. If there's a feeling of like frustration or pain inside of you about that, find that area in your body and put one hand over it and simply breathe into it. Send love to that part that feels that challenge. It's a perfect opportunity to do that. We all go through it. Christine said, tears of joy, cells responding, experiencing, I am free of every form of bondage and enslavement. I am emancipated, full of pure love and light. Oh, thank you. Beautiful, Christine. Feeling that, Cynthia, cellular tingling and seeing purple light when I close my eyes. Danielle, following an orb of pure light aligned with my breath, moving up my chakras. Mariana said, a distinct, tangible presence of source energy in the sacred heart. So one reason I've been so happy lately is I'm getting to share my superpowers. I'm getting to share my ability to be a quantum catalyst. And my greatest honor is to help you or anyone else to also step into this. So it becomes your everyday default experience. It doesn't mean, yes, there's still ups and downs in life. We're human. There's going to be times of all the emotions and all the things and all. Your baseline experience becomes more than this. My baseline experience used to be low-grade depression. through a lot of my life. And then sometimes I'd get high and feel better. But now my baseline is this. And then from here, sometimes I go through ups and downs and things. There's a difference in that. A lot of people are seeing that violet purple light. I must be very strong in this transmission right now. Thank you for sharing that. So, tears flowing, my skull opened and I'm being washed over from inside by the divine energy. So now, what I'm going to do is bring this stage of this activation to a close, and we're going to come back and do another activation after a few minutes. So just stay with your experience, okay? Turning the music down a little bit so I can explain some other things, and then we'll turn it back up in a little bit. So I want to talk to you a little bit about what Lightworker Ministry is while you're in this beautiful consciousness. This is the homepage of the website. It's something that I've worked on over the last year and is now full functioning. I was actually motivated to go and become ordained as a minister about 7 years ago through the Sacred Medical Order of the Knights of Hope, which is an international organization of people in the medical field who are about serving others and bringing healing to others. And then I'm also a minister in this Lightworker ministry, but it's not religious in the normal sense. I've actually never been very interested in religion in my life, so I'm still really not. But it is a church. It's actually registered as a church in the state of Washington. And the main reason for that is because it gives a lot of protection for the people who are operating in it, because there's a great deal of protection of churches in this country. And I honestly believe that we all have a ministry. Some people may not use that word, you may use other things, but we all have a ministry we're here to do. When you claim your superpowers and you raise your energy vibration and you upgrade your body, discover your superpowers. Okay, this music is Ashana. I'll put that in the chat. I love her. She's awesome. You can find her on YouTube and on Spotify. So I just put that in the chat, her name in the chat. I highly recommend her music. And so what this is, it's something that you can join as a member, and you can make any donation to join as a member. Even a lot of people have joined for $1. So again, that's not a barrier. And there's every other week, every 2 weeks, there's a meeting we have on Zoom, which is an hour and a half. And again, just if you like this energy work here, it's every other week. We work in this quantum field. We do group healing. We do planetary healing. People speak decrees. We have some teachings about quantum healing, like how you actually do it. So that's part of the Lightworker ministry. There's also a page in there that has a map of the United States and a map of the world where we mark places of crisis so that we can all pray together and focus our energy together and create that 100th monkey effect, that tipping point to shift things. And again, that's one of the things that members do in this. There's also different workshops that we have and training programs for quantum healers and retreats. And there's a lot of amazing things that are all in this kind of consciousness that we're working with right now. So if you're enjoying this, if you resonate with me and what I'm talking about, I'd really encourage you to go look at that Lightworker Ministry website and join if you like what if you just look at the homepage, you'll see all the features and all the different content. There's a huge knowledge base. I think I have another page here that says what's in it. So the benefits of membership are the bi-weekly Lightworker Awakening and Empowerment sessions, extensive knowledge base for ascension, quantum healing. I've taken like some of the best knowledge that I have, that I use, and put it on that site. There's an active community with opportunities for networking, friendships, like collaborating on projects, service projects, maybe even businesses, things like that. Because people have always said that I bring a great group of high-level people together, and that's what this is about too. There's free courses when you're a member, and then there's paid courses that are more extensive. The Rapid Response Earth Healing. If you join us, the higher level membership, which is $20 a month, called the Guardian, you can list your practice so other people can find you as a healer, and there's a whole lot of other benefits for the Guardian membership. You choose your own donation to be part of it. Always up to you how much you do that with. The other thing I'm going to say before we go into the final activations is that one of the things that Lightworker Ministry does is sponsor retreats. It's my favorite thing in the world is being in retreats. We just finished a 3-day retreat 2 weekends ago with about 18 people who are in this 14-week master course that I've been leading. And it was amazing. I'll show you some of the comments from people a little bit later. But again, it was all on Zoom. Yet, we were doing yoga, we were doing qigong, we had times where we put on rock and roll music and dance, and we'd have practicing healing with each other in the breakout rooms, and then group sessions, and these long, luxurious meditations. Excuse me. So anyway, that's also available. So there's another retreat coming up July 29th to 31st, also on Zoom. And again, if you're interested in awakening your higher sense perception and awakening your superpowers, the things I'm talking about, there's a really rapid process of that happens in these retreats. So I will, there's a link that I will email you after this that you want to learn more about it. Okay, so here's a few quotes from people who attended the last retreat 2 weeks ago. Am Toki said, "I can't think of anything to improve. This was a powerful, well-organized course with very good material and handouts. Time management was excellent." Karen said, "I love the pace and variety of practices. It was a magical and amazing 3 days. I feel like I had a breakthrough and filled with gratitude and grace. It was exceptionally executed and exceeded my expectations." And Shannon, who's a myofascial therapist, said, "I discovered my life's purpose through the retreat experience." Eileen, an acupuncturist, said, "I had concerns about spending 3 solid days on Zoom, but it was amazing. Your ability to humbly guide the group through such powerful and high vibrational experiences was a gift I will cherish. What I'm most excited to apply is the way of being in the world and the practices that will help us to build on the amazing experience of these 3 days." I think maybe okay, Jane said I didn't share the name Ashana. I think I sent it to the wrong place. I'll do it again. Okay, I just posted that name Ashana again. Okay. And then here's the last testimony I'll read from Stacy, who's a spiritual healer and skin nutritionist. She said, "I think overall it was a really great retreat. You do a really good job creating a safe environment for souls to share, gather, and expand. You have a great sense of humor, and it's clear you are really a master healer, practitioner, and your gifts shine through. You've attracted a really special group of people. I could tell how impactful it was for everyone." So anyway, people fill these, send me these things at these retreats. Okay, so now let's go into the next quantum activation to close out what we're doing here. Oh, and if you're interested in the retreat, this coming retreat is $549 with early registration or 2 payments of $287. And again, I will email you the links for these things afterwards in case you can't write these things down you see up here. So I welcome you, to be part of this retreat. So, okay, so now for this one, this has to do with healing. If you are aware of any pain in your body or any kind of symptom of disease that you're going through, or if you're feeling any kind of emotional pain or imbalance, this is going to be a really interesting exercise. Go to the chat and just put a few words about what your symptom is and how you would rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, like 10 being the worst symptom, like really, really the worst it ever is, and 1 being almost nothing. So Lauren said I have a cold, so maybe you could just say how uncomfortable that cold is on a scale of 1 to 10. Okay, because what we're going to do is a before and after. I want to demonstrate how quantum healing works to you right now. Close this out. Yeah, Anne-Marie said joint pain of 7. Olya, pain in my neck is 5. Christine said spinal disease, scale 6 to 7. Okay, that's perfect. Thank you. Keep writing those. So it could be a physical symptom or it could be an emotional symptom. Something that you're preferably aware of right now so you can tell if it changes or not. And Judith Ann said a 9 of adrenal fatigue. Okay, I'd love to see that get better. Lorna said frozen shoulder, left arm is 6. Right ankle strain 2 or 3 from Kenneth. Okay, so now, thank you for sharing that. Now take your mind off the issue. Call your energy back into your body. I now call all my energy back into my body. Okay, Dodge Dennis is paralyzed from the neck down about a third. Ariana neuropathy along the abdominal scar. Jane said shoulder and back stiff as a 5 or a 4. Okay. If you have any water near you, please take a sip of water. Call all of my energy back into my body. Allow some of that energy to ground into the Earth Star chakra underneath the earth below me. Then come into loving presence. Simply tune into love. Okay, Lee said lower spinal pain 8. Okay, thank you for saying all those. Now just bring your attention inside of your body. Let some of the energy connect with Mother Earth. We're now going to go through an activation of the Master Healer. Master Healer is a part of you. It's really, you might call it the Holy Spirit. We can call it by different names. It's something that exists in the universe. It exists. It is. And any human being can embody it at any time. So being a master healer is not a personal achievement. It's something that you get to embody, just like the state of being in love or feeling warm and tingly. It's something you can take on. So now I'm going to suggest, I'm going to give you some decrees to repeat after me. And feel free to alter these in any way that you see fit, if you want to change the words around to suit you. I am loving presence. It's best if you put your hand over your heart and say these things out loud. I am loving presence. I am here, I am here, I am here. in a sense calling your I am presence to be fully present in your body. I am an awakening avatar of light. I am now awakening my Christ consciousness in my body. Take some deep breaths. I am invoking my master healer self now. I am calling upon my healing team, which consists of beings of light that are supporting you and serving you. I've been with you most of your life. If you become a healer, you get a different team. You have to get a new team. So whether you believe that or understand that, you might want to just try it out. I now connect you with my healing team. Like I'm aware of some of the parts of my team. Please bring me a miracle healing of the symptom that I mentioned, that I wrote in the chat. Now, I am worthy and deserving of being healed. I am willing to accept this. Now, trust your body right now. If your body feels like moving in some way, trust that. Like if you just feel like kind of stretching or moving in your chair or standing up or breathing a different way, just trust whatever it is that is happening in your body. Just allow this master healer to do its work. Breathe fully. Now, healing comes from building your virtue. So one way to build virtue is to serve. So I'm going to now ask us to send blessings and love to the earth, to all life on earth, the new earth that we are on. So you can visualize a beautiful, like this picture, this video shows flower of life pattern, shows this Merkaba of light body spinning around the earth. Imagine a beautiful pillar of light coming from the highest source, surrounding the earth, blessing and uplifting all life, softening the hearts of people that are stuck in polarization and greed and hatred and wanting to take advantage of others. People that want to oppress women, still maintain racism, people that want to maintain wars, and all of that. To see grace filling the planet. I am bringing heaven to earth. I wish for all beings to be happy and liberated. Okay, so now, look into your body, feel inside your body, take a few deep breaths. What I'm going to request is that anybody who wrote a symptom on the chat, please go to the chat and say the symptom and write what the number was that you wrote a few minutes ago and what it is now, if there's been any change. Like in others, if let's say somebody had pain and it was an 8, back pain 8, and then what you sense it is now. Let's see if there's any change. Jane said, my shoulders went from a 5 to a 3, neuropathy went from 4 to a 2. Lauren said, my cold went from 3 to a 0. Jane said, Lauren, wow. Leah said, neck pain went from a 5 to a 1. Vincenza said, whatever she had went from a 9 to a 6. Judith Anner said she had adrenal fatigue at a 9, is now a 6. Third better. Lorna said, frozen shoulder 6 is about the same. I thank you. Wow, Lee said her spine pain went from an 8 to a 0. That's awesome. Christine said degenerative spine was 6, now receiving healing energy. There was a block, now the block is removed. Mariana said whatever she had went from 7 to a 4. Thank you for participating. This was amazing. You see, the only thing that's going to save our planet is many, many miracles. And as you can see here, miracles do happen. Miracles are real. Kenneth's ankle went down to a 1. Improved. The Course in Miracles said there's no order of difficulty in miracles. Like what seems like a giant miracle, like making a mountain move, is no more difficult than what we consider to be a small miracle, like finding your car keys after you lost them. Cynthia said cervical pain was 4 to 5, now 1. Heartache was 8 and now 3. Heel pain was 3 to 4, now 0. Thank you, Cynthia, for sharing that. So we're at a point where we need to end this event because I don't want to go over, much more than I already have. But again, I will send you an email with the link for the Lightworker Ministry. And if you enjoy what this is we're doing here, then I'd really encourage you to check that out and join us. Again, the purpose is to bring light workers together so we create healing miracles for ourselves and for the planet. Part of the movement of ascending consciousness. And there's, so many other organizations and groups all over the world, and we're connecting with them on the energy level. And I'm also working on starting to formulate a big event for the fall with many, many different organizations where people all come together for world peace and to change the planet. So if we could change your pain from an 8 to a 1, we could also do that for the earth. Again, if there's no order of difficulty in miracles. So thank you for coming on this webinar. I really appreciate it. I'm actually going to do it again on June 21st, just because I keep connecting with new groups of people that are interested. So if you know anybody that would want to experience it, they can go to the same webpage that you signed up on and find another one for the other one. This coming Thursday, which is, let me look up the date, is going to be our next Lightworker Ministry meeting that I was telling you about. Thursday, calendar here. So it'll be Thursday, July 14th at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. It'll be about an hour and a half. And a splendid time is guaranteed for all. So July 21st. Yeah, okay, right. The next webinar like this is July 21st. Thank you. And the Lightworker Ministry meeting is July 14th. Okay, thanks for straightening me out. Okay, so let's do a formal closing here. To thank the divine, thank God, thank the Christ, thank our higher selves, thank each other. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Love you, love you, love you. And the word gong sung was taught to me by one of my teachers. It's like something you say to send back all the divine beings who come to help us. We kind of respectfully send them back. So we say, gong sung, gong sung, gong sung. Right, the July 21st link was in the same email of today's meeting. So anyway, when you receive the email from me, I would welcome any of you to reply and say hello and introduce yourself. So bye, have a great rest of your weekend.